All right, thanks for sticking around for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Rich Walsh in for Bob Pompiani tonight, and we have a big show planned for you. We're going to break down some big battles at Steelers training camp, talk a little bit about the backup quarterback job, maybe who's going to be the second receiver. We're also going to head out to Oakland and hear what these guys have to say about the latest drama going on with Antonio Brown. We just talked about it in Sports Helmet Gate 2019, and our Pitt season predictions on the way. And we have an all-star panel for you tonight from left to right on your screen. We got Mark Kaboly from The Athletic. I can't believe he's up this late. We're live tonight. Wow. Paul Zeize from the Post-Gazette and the Fan. He's about to fall asleep. And Tim Benz. He works for just about everyone, Trib Live and Steelers pregame host. And guys, we're going to talk about the Steelers right off the bat. 2-0 in the preseason. Preseason, not a big deal. They won a huge game against Kansas City yesterday. But I think one of the things that we want to talk about is some of the battles that are going on in camp right now. And for me, there's two big battles. We'll start with you, Mark. I mean, I think the backup quarterback is a good battle that's going on right now. I don't think anyone's really separated themselves. Maybe Mason Rudolph has the edge. And the wide receiver, second wide receiver. I still think Deante Johnson holds that because of being a veteran. But James Washington's been pretty good this preseason.
Yeah, it tells you where this team is, really, even after all the offseason losses, that we're talking about backup quarterback and number 2 and number 3 wide receiver is your only real battles. And I really think Mason Rudolph is the guy that's probably taking control of that backup job right now. There's still some time to go, but I don't know how much time's left for him with Roethlisberger, expected to start a little bit on Sunday against the Titans. So I think it's a good scenario to be in. Everybody figured that those backup quarterbacks were, subpar and weren't going to be able to fill in. After seeing what I've seen over camp and through preseason games, I'm pretty certain that either one of these guys can win a game or 2 or 3 for them to keep them maybe in the mix if Roethlisberger goes down. Now, if it's more of a full year type of thing, let's just forget about it. But, it's the same with the receivers. I think Moncrief is the guy right now, even though he hasn't produced very much since he's been here. James Washington has played pretty well, but I think Tomlin likes to go with a little bit of that, experience over James Washington. So
I could tell you Paul Zeize wants to keep Duck.
Yeah.
I know that.
I was
Greatest
talking
fourth-string quarterback in the history
I
of
was
National
talking
Football
last
League.
night about Duck. To me, he gives you the luxury, I guess, of shedding either Dobbs or Rudolph. If you shed Rudolph, you basically are admitting that you really made a huge mistake last year in the draft. So to me, I think it's pretty clear that Rudolph is going to be the backup. But, I mean, as far as the receivers go, the only thing I've seen Deante Moncrief do is catch the ball and fumble it. So I'm not sure exactly why it's his job to lose. I tell you what, the kid from Toledo is pretty exciting, and as is James Washington. Every time I watch him this year, he just seems to be getting better and better. So the fact that we are, as Mark said, are talking about these things, that's a good thing because it means the Steelers are pretty good shape in just about every other position.
Yeah, Deante Johnson got up to speed a little bit more quickly than I anticipated, given all the time he had lost in training camp. As far as Moncrief versus Washington goes, that's almost in nomenclature only when it comes to number 2 versus number 3, with the amount of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets that the Steelers use. Whoever blocks better might be the designated starting wide receiver to come out in 2 wide receiver sets. And then when it comes to the quarterbacks, you pointed out, Paul, the fumble for Moncrief. That was on the first play of a drive after a turnover. James Conner kind of bobbled a ball for Mason Rudolph as well that didn't turn into a bigger gain than I think was there. And then, of course, you had the drop that came from Xavier Grimble. I think Mason Rudolph's numbers had the opportunity to look a lot better than what they were, and he did a very good job engineering that drive down the field, which got ignited once James Washington got in the game, and they charged down the field and got the lone touchdown in that first half for the offense.
weren't we fooled last year by a rookie receiver having a pretty good preseason and pretty good, training camp? So right now, I don't see many possibilities of Deante Johnson actually getting on the field if he can't return a punt, in which he fumbled I believe, the only punt he had on Saturday night. So I think he's right out of the mix. A guy could maybe help out later down in the season, maybe December or something like that. But I don't see Deante Johnson actually being even active for the first 2 or 3 months.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting that he would. I was just encouraged to see that after all the time that he lost in camp, he's not completely behind the 8 ball. And Granted, he did what he did against some backups, but after all those hip, hamstring, and groin injuries that he had, I wasn't sure he'd give us anything to see in the preseason.
So we know Ben Roethlisberger is going to start this third preseason game in Tennessee Sunday night. We don't know who's going to be the backup in that game, but, you know, my question right now is about the starter. We've seen some injuries this preseason so far, not with the Steelers, luckily enough. But, Mark, I mean, do you think that maybe you shouldn't even start Ben in the preseason?
That's not going to happen, Rich. I don't think it's ever happened. Actually, it's gotten down to the point where he only plays a series or two in that third preseason game. That wasn't like that, 5, 6, 7 years ago. He was playing, week 1, week 2, week 3. So should he play? He probably doesn't need it. But if they go in there with their starters, have a nice first drive and get him out of there, I don't think there's anything wrong with that unless he gets hurt. Like, I see Le'Veon Bell is not even going to participate in preseason and all, and their Avery Williamson from the Jets also is out for the season. So I think quarterback is pretty safe if you have those 5 starting offensive line there, that he's not going to get hurt.
Based on Hodges, I mean, they've got a true backup right there anyway. The Duck is going to take over. He's the most popular guy in Pittsburgh right now. I don't see the problem with giving Roethlisberger 2, maybe 3 series and calling it a preseason for him.
I don't see the need for it, to be honest. I mean, I've heard people say, well, it's in the first week, they've got to be sharp and all this other stuff. Really? I mean, in the third preseason game, him playing a series or 2 is going to be the difference between him being sharp 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, whatever. I thought Andy Reid was nuts last night to put Pat Mahomes out there on the field. I know if I was a coach, my starting quarterback would not play till week 1 unless it was a situation where he was a rookie or something, or he really needed the work. But most of these guys, we know who the starters are. I would wait till the first week. Especially with Bud Dupree out there. We'll get to him in a second, but first, we got to talk a little bit about football season is getting started. So pick up a new #1 Cochran Chevy now and be ready for those tailgate parties and road trips. Better get there fast. #1 Cochran Chevrolet Summer Clearance Event is well underway and won't last long. Get the best offers of the season on all the big-name Chevy players, including Silverado, Traverse, and Malibu. Only at new #1 Cochran Chevrolet Cranberry, formerly Kenny Ross, or visit CochranChevrolet.com. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.